If you're a beginner, investing can feel like walking into a gym where everyone already knows the machines, the routines, and the rules. You look around and you think, I'm going to do something wrong. And that feeling, more than lack of money, stops most people from ever starting. So in this video, I'm going to give you a simple investing plan for beginners. Not a perfect plan, not an advanced plan. A plan that's calm. A plan that's understandable. A plan that doesn't require you to guess what the market will do next. And here's the promise. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what starting properly actually means. Not in theory, in practice. Because most beginners don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they start with the wrong mental picture. They think investing is about picking the right thing, or timing the right moment, or finding some best option they'll regret missing. But the people who quietly build wealth over time usually aren't doing anything dramatic. They're doing something boring on purpose. They're using a system. And if you build a beginner system correctly, three things happen. First, it becomes hard to make big mistakes by accident. Second, you stop feeling like you need constant confidence to keep going. And third, you can make progress even when your emotions are noisy. In a moment, I'll show you the simple structure behind that system. But before that, I want you to notice something important. When people say they're bad with money, what they usually mean is they feel uncertain. They don't feel safe making decisions. They don't trust themselves to choose correctly. So they wait. They say, I'll start when I understand more. Or, I'll start when the market settles down. Or, I'll start when I have more money. But the truth is, understanding doesn't usually come first. Understanding comes from having a simple plan and repeating it until it becomes normal. That's what we're going to build today, something normal. And I'm going to do it without using complicated terms, and without asking you to pick individual stocks or guess prices or chase trends. Just a simple plan for beginners. Now, here's the part most people miss. A beginner plan isn't just what you buy, it's a sequence. It's the order you do things in, so you don't accidentally build the wrong foundation. Because if you start in the wrong order, you can end up with a weird, stressful investing life where you're constantly second-guessing yourself. You'll check prices too often. You'll feel anxious when things move. You'll hesitate to add money. You'll want to fix it every week. And the whole thing starts to feel like a test you're failing. But if you start in the right order, the same market feels completely different. The plan does the thinking for you. And in a moment, I'll break that order down into a clean, beginner-friendly structure. Before that, let me tell you what this video is not. This isn't a video about getting rich quickly. It's not about hot investments. It's not about predictions. It's about building a system that a normal person can follow for years without needing motivation every day. And if you stay with me through the first few parts, you'll see why the simplest plan is often the strongest one. Not because it's exciting, but because it's repeatable. In a moment, I'll show you the three biggest mistakes that ruin beginner plans, so you can avoid them before you even start. But first, we need one clear definition. A beginner investing plan is a way to turn money you earn today into money you can use later, without needing to be good at markets. That's it. And if that's what you want, then the rest of this video will feel like someone finally turning the lights on. So let's build it. This isn't financial advice. It's a simple, educational breakdown of how investing works, explained clearly and calmly. Nothing here is about quick wins. Nothing here is about beating other people. It's about building a beginner system that makes sense and reduces mistakes. Also, I'm not going to tell you what to buy today. I'm not going to name specific stocks or make predictions. Because beginners don't need picks. Beginners need structure. If you get the structure right, you can keep improving your understanding over time. If you get the structure wrong, even good knowledge can turn into stress. In a moment, I'll give you the full plan in a simple sequence. But first, one more framing point. The goal of a beginner plan is not to feel confident every day. The goal is to make confidence less necessary. A good plan should still work on a week where you're busy, tired, distracted, or unsure. It should be simple enough that you can do it without needing to think yourself into it. That's what we're aiming for. I'm going to break this into three parts. First, how to think about investing as a beginner, so the whole idea stops feeling complicated. Second, the simple plan itself, step by step, in the right order. Third, what to avoid, because there are a few common beginner mistakes that quietly sabotage otherwise good plans. And throughout the video, I'll keep looping back to one question. How do you make this easy to stick to? Because the best plan isn't the one that sounds smartest. It's the one you can actually follow when life gets busy. In a moment, we'll start with the mindset that makes the plan feel calm. But before that, here's the big picture in one sentence. A simple beginner investing plan is built on 3 pillars: a clear purpose, a simple diversified approach, and a steady habit. Purpose answers, what is this money for? Diversification answers, how do I avoid one mistake ruining everything? Habit answers, how do I keep going without constant decision-making? In a moment, I'll show you what each pillar looks like in real life. But first, I want to clear up one misunderstanding. A beginner plan is not about maximizing returns. That phrase pulls beginners into the wrong behavior. Beginners don't need maximum anything. They need minimum confusion. Because the biggest risk early on is not the market. It's quitting, or never starting, or turning the process into something stressful. So we'll build a plan that's intentionally simple and intentionally boring in the right way. In a moment, we'll begin Section A by building the core concept that makes everything else click. And once that clicks, the plan will feel obvious. Let's start from zero. Imagine you're trying to get fit. There are 2 ways you can approach it. One way is to spend weeks researching the perfect workout routine, the perfect diet, the perfect supplements, the perfect schedule. You try to optimize everything before you do anything. The other way is to choose a simple routine you can repeat, and then improve it gradually once the habit exists. Most beginners in investing choose the first approach. They research so much that they overload themselves. And because they're overloaded, they delay. And because they delay, nothing changes. A simple investing plan is the second approach. It's not designed to be perfect. It's designed to be repeated. Now, to make investing feel calm, you need one mental shift. Stop thinking of investing as making money. Start thinking of it as building ownership. That sounds small, but it changes everything. When you invest, you are buying small pieces of businesses or assets that exist in the real world. Over time, those businesses can grow, earn money, and become more valuable. Sometimes prices move up and down in the short term because markets are emotional. But ownership is the core idea. And a beginner plan is about building ownership slowly, in a way that doesn't require daily decisions. In a moment, I'll explain the simple structure for doing that. Before that, let's talk about the real reason investing feels hard. Investing feels hard because it mixes 2 things that humans aren't naturally good at. First, delayed reward. You do something today, and the payoff is later. That's difficult for the brain. Second, uncertainty. You can't know the outcome in advance because prices move. So your brain tries to protect you by saying, wait until you know more. Wait until it's safer. Wait until you feel sure. But here's the quiet truth. You don't get certainty. You get a system that works despite uncertainty. So the core concept of a beginner plan is this. You design your actions so you don't need to predict. You don't need to time. You don't need to choose the best moment. You just need to be consistent. Now, consistency doesn't mean being robotic. It means having defaults. A default is what you do when you don't know what to do. And beginners need defaults more than they need ideas. In a moment, I'll give you the beginner defaults. But first, a very important distinction. There are 2 types of risk. There's the risk of an investment going down in price in the short term, and there's the risk of not building anything over the long term. Beginners focus almost entirely on the first one. They're scared of seeing a number drop. But the second risk is the bigger one. Years passing while you're waiting for perfect clarity. So a beginner plan is a way to manage both. It's designed to reduce the chance of a single mistake, and it's designed to keep you moving. Now let's define the simplest version of the plan. A beginner plan needs 4 parts. First, a starting point. Second, a contribution habit. Third, a simple way to spread risk. Fourth, a rule for what you do when you feel emotional. That fourth part matters more than most people realize, because your emotions will show up. They always do. Prices will move. News will happen. Your life will change. You'll have weeks where you feel confident and weeks where you feel unsure. If the plan doesn't account for that, it's not a real plan. It's a nice idea. So we build emotional rules into the plan from day one. In a moment, I'll show you what those rules look like in plain English. Before that, let's talk about spreading risk in a beginner-safe way. When people hear diversification, they often imagine complicated portfolios with lots of moving parts. But the basic idea is simple. It means don't let one single bet decide your outcome. If your whole future depends on one thing going right, you've created fragility. A beginner plan reduces fragility. So instead of asking, what's the best stock, you ask, how do I build ownership across many businesses so I'm not relying on one story? That's the heart of diversification. And now we can build the plan itself. Here's the sequence. Step 1 is not pick investments. Step 1 is purpose. Purpose means you decide what this money is for. Is it long-term wealth building? Is it a future house deposit? Is it retirement? Is it a general future me fund? You don't need a perfect answer, but you do need a category, because the category changes your behavior. If the money is for the long term, you can be calmer when prices move. If the money is needed soon, you might need more stability and less exposure to big swings. So the beginner plan starts by separating money by time. Short-term money is money you may need soon. Long-term money is money you can leave alone for years. A beginner mistake is mixing these. If you invest money you might need soon, every price move feels like a crisis, and you'll be tempted to pull out at the worst time. So the plan begins with one calm rule. Only invest money you can leave alone for a meaningful amount of time. That's not dramatic, it's not strict, it's just a stability rule. In a moment, we'll add the habit part, the part that actually makes the plan work. But before that, I want to say something that will calm you down if you're a beginner. You don't have to start big. Starting big feels like commitment. Starting small feels like practice. And beginners need practice. So the plan is designed so you can start with a small amount and still be doing it right. Because the goal early on is not to maximize growth, it's to build the identity of someone who invests. Once that identity exists, scaling becomes easy. Now step 2, the contribution habit. A beginner plan should not rely on your mood. So instead of, I'll invest when I feel like it, you decide in advance, how often will I add money? Weekly? Monthly? Or whenever you get paid? That becomes your rhythm. The rhythm matters because it changes investing from an event into a routine. And routines are calm. When investing becomes a routine, you stop asking, is now the right time? Every time. Because your system answers for you. In a moment, I'll show you how this reduces anxiety. But before that, we need step 3, simple diversification. In beginner terms, diversification means I own a little bit of many things. Not one, not two, many. So instead of spending your energy trying to find the one best thing, you spend your energy building the habit of owning broadly. That approach doesn't feel exciting. it feels mature. And maturity is what makes investing work. Now, step 4, emotional rules. Here are the 2 most useful beginner emotional rules. Rule 1. You do not check your investments every day. Because daily checking teaches your brain that short-term movement is important. It trains you to react. Instead, you choose a checking schedule that matches your plan. If you contribute monthly, you might check monthly. If you contribute weekly, you might check weekly, or even less. Rule 2. You do not change the plan because of headlines. You only change the plan if your life situation changes or your time horizon changes. That's it. In a moment, I'll show you what this looks like with a full walkthrough. But before that, let's summarize Section A in one calm sentence. A simple beginner plan is: separate short-term from long-term, set a contribution rhythm, diversify broadly, and use emotional rules to prevent self-sabotage. Now we're ready to make it feel real. Now let's deepen this with real beginner scenarios, because this is where things usually click. Scenario 1, the anxious beginner. This person is willing to invest, but they're afraid they'll do it wrong. So they open a chart, they see prices moving, they read a headline, they feel a small spike of stress. Then they do nothing. This is the most common beginner pattern: paralysis through exposure. The simple plan fixes that by changing the question. Instead of, "Is this a good time?" the plan asks, "Is this long-term money?" and "Is it my scheduled contribution day?" If the answer is yes, you do the simple action. If the answer is no, you don't. That removes the need for constant evaluation. In a moment, I'll show you the exact beginner checklist in plain English. But before that, Scenario 2. Scenario 2, the enthusiastic beginner. They watch a few videos, they get excited, and they want to do it properly. So they try to build a complicated portfolio. They spread money across too many decisions. They change things often. They feel productive, but they're actually creating noise. Then something drops in price. They panic. They start fixing and adjusting. This is how a beginner turns investing into a stress hobby. The simple plan prevents this by limiting decisions. It says, your job is not to constantly improve your portfolio. Your job is to be consistent. Consistency is what creates results over time. In a moment, I'll explain the mental model that makes this obvious. But before that, Scenario 3. Scenario 3, the beginner who starts, then stops. They do well for a month or two. Then life gets busy. They miss a contribution. They feel like they've failed. Then they avoid it. This is a mindset issue, not a money issue. The simple plan solves it by designing a plan that expects interruptions. A good system doesn't break when you miss a week. It just continues. Now let's add 2 mental models to make this feel even clearer. Mental Model 1, the autopilot model. Think of your plan like setting a thermostat. You don't stand next to the thermostat and adjust it every minute. You set a target range, and the system keeps you close to it. Your contribution rhythm is the thermostat setting. Your diversification is the range that keeps you from extreme outcomes based on one decision. The goal is not constant tinkering. The goal is stable direction. In a moment, I'll show you how to set the temperature of your plan based on your life. But before that, Mental Model 2. Mental Model 2, the ship model. Investing is like steering a ship, not driving a car. A car responds instantly. A ship responds slowly. If you oversteer a ship, you create chaos. You swing side to side. You lose stability. Beginners often oversteer. They see a small movement and they change direction. They see a headline and they change direction. They feel fear and they change direction. A simple plan prevents oversteering by giving you fewer reasons to move the wheel. You choose a direction, you keep moving. You make small corrections occasionally, not constantly. Now let's do a time-based illustration, because time is the most underrated part of beginner investing. Imagine 2 people. Person A starts early with a small habit. Person B starts later, but tries to make up for it by being more intense. Person A's advantage is not skill, it's time. Time makes small, consistent actions powerful. But there's a trap here. When people hear time is powerful, they think they need to rush. They think they're behind. They think they must do everything now. That's not the lesson. The lesson is, the earlier you build the habit, the less intense you need to be later. So the simple plan's real goal is to begin the habit, calmly. In a moment, I'll walk you through what this looks like in real life. But before that, here's what people get wrong. They think investing is mainly about intelligence. It's not. It's mainly about behavior. It's about whether you can keep doing the simple thing while your brain tries to distract you with fear, excitement, or doubt. So a beginner plan is basically a behavior plan. It's a plan that makes good behavior easier. Now, the what this looks like in real life walkthrough. Picture a normal month. You get paid, bills go out, you have life expenses, and there's a small amount left that you can allocate toward your future. With a simple plan, you decide that amount in advance. Not perfectly, just realistically. Then you choose a consistent day. Maybe it's the day after payday. Maybe it's the first of the month. The day doesn't matter as much as the consistency. When that day arrives, you do your contribution. You don't ask the market's mood. You don't ask the news. You follow the plan. Then you move on. That's what investing looks like when it's calm. A small action, repeated, without drama. In a moment, we'll convert this into an actual beginner-friendly setup sequence you can follow. Before that, one last common objection. Some beginners say, "What if I start and the market goes down right after?" That can happen, and it feels emotionally unfair. But the plan accounts for this by focusing on long horizons and consistency. If you invest regularly over time, you are naturally buying across different prices, sometimes higher, sometimes lower. You're not trying to be a hero. You're trying to be stable. And stability is what wins over long periods. Now we're ready for Section C, the practical application, in a clean, beginner-safe sequence. Let's turn this into a simple plan you can actually follow. I'm going to describe it like a setup sequence, because beginners need sequence. First, decide your time horizon. Ask yourself, is this money I can leave alone for years? If the answer is yes, it can belong to your long-term investing bucket. If the answer is no, it belongs somewhere more stable and accessible. This one decision removes a lot of future stress. In a moment, I'll show you how to choose your contribution amount without overthinking. But before that, Step 2. Step 2. Choose a contribution rhythm. Weekly or monthly is enough for most people. Pick the one that matches your income and your lifestyle. Then set a simple rule. When this day arrives, I contribute. You don't need perfection, you need repetition. Step 3. Decide your diversification approach. As a beginner, the goal is broad exposure rather than concentrated bets. So your rule is, I want my investing money spread across many businesses, not dependent on one. That keeps you from needing to pick winners. In a moment, I'll explain how to avoid the trap of adding too many moving parts. But before that, Step 4. Step 4. Set 2 emotional guardrails. Guardrail 1. A checking schedule. Choose how often you check. Not how often you think about it, how often you actually look. A simple approach is, you only check when you contribute. And even then, you're mostly checking that the process happened. Guardrail 2. A change rule. You are allowed to change the plan for life reasons. You are not allowed to change the plan for headline reasons. Life reasons might be, your time horizon changes, your income changes, your goals change. Headline reasons are fear, excitement, noise. Now, Step 5. Create a beginner review moment. This is where you look at your plan occasionally, maybe every few months, and ask, is the contribution still realistic? Is the time horizon still true? Is the plan still simple? The goal is not to constantly optimize. It's to keep the system aligned with your real life. In a moment, I'll give you a clean, if you had 100 pounds style walkthrough. Before that, I want to stop you from making a common beginner mistake. Beginners often try to do everything at once. They try to invest, they try to learn, they try to optimize, they try to follow news, and they burn out. So here's the calm version. Your only job at the start is to create a repeatable loop. Earn money, allocate a small amount, invest according to a simple, diversified rule, repeat. Learning can happen alongside it, slowly. Now the walkthrough. If you had a small amount to start, something you can comfortably treat as practice, you would do this. You'd decide it's long-term money. You'd choose your rhythm, say monthly. You'd choose a broad, diversified approach as your default. You'd set your guardrails, check only monthly, and don't change the plan because of noise. Then you'd repeat for a few months. After a few months, something important happens. The process stops feeling scary because it becomes familiar. And once it's familiar, you stop needing constant reassurance. Now, what if you're thinking, but I still don't know enough? That's normal. You're not supposed to feel like an expert before you start. You're supposed to feel like a beginner. A beginner plan is not a reward for knowledge. It's a tool that allows knowledge to grow without paralysis. In a moment, I'll wrap this up with a calm summary you can remember. But before that, one more avoid list. Spoken, not complicated. Avoid checking daily. Avoid changing direction often. Avoid mixing short-term needs with long-term investing. Avoid making one decision carry too much weight. Keep it simple. Keep it repeatable. Keep it calm. Now let's close this properly. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this. A beginner investing plan is not about finding the perfect move. It's about building a simple system you can repeat. You don't need to rush this. Understanding the system is more important than timing anything. And the moment you separate your money by time, choose a rhythm, diversify broadly, and add emotional guardrails, you've already done what most people never do. You've turned investing from an intimidating idea into a normal habit. And once it's a habit, you can improve it slowly. You can learn at your own pace. You can make small adjustments as your life changes. But you don't need to do everything today. Calm beats chaos. If you want the next step after this, especially if you're still a beginner and want the simplest strategy explained clearly, then the next video to watch is about that exact idea, in plain English, without overcomplication. I'll see you there.